Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Getting Inside the Right Male Mind. It is so lovely to see you all. Hi, honey.
Hi, sweetie.
How are you?
Good, really good.
Yeah, awesome. Well, today we have a very special subject because of the holidays and with New Year's coming up.
And the past year almost passed.
Yes, the past year is almost past. One of I had such a beautiful day with you yesterday. I just wanted to thank you for making our Jewish Christmas so special. It was really lovely. It was such a spontaneous day, but it turned out to be just magical.
Right. You made me a beautiful breakfast,
Mhm.
and we ate it in our greenhouse, which we have been constructing for the past many months. It's maybe a 250-year-old French greenhouse, and we finally have the heat put into it. So the
Yes.
sub-freezing Santa Fe weather, was manageable.
Yeah.
And we exchanged gifts. I got exactly what I would want, and it was a surprise. I got a stack of books of Santa Fe history and lore. I got a bottle of made in Santa Fe whiskey, which I tried last night, and something for cooking. Some because
wood smoke salt.
Right, because I've been cooking for us these past months.
Yeah.
I've been the cook for the most part.
Yeah, it was really a wonderful, wonderful day. And then we had no plans, like none. And we started getting hungry, and you were like, oh no, there's restaurants open. And I was like, I just think there's Indian and Chinese restaurants open. But you went online and you saw that El Nido up the street was open, and you put in an order of pizza and some other things, and then you drove up there and
it was closed.
But they took your credit card.
That went through.
They took your credit card. They took the order. Probably going to have it ready for us tonight.
Probably that would work.
It would work. Yeah. So we shopped our own freezer, and luckily we found a Rouse frozen lasagna that I think has been in there for a year now.
Yes, circa 2000.
Well, I don't know when we moved when we first came to Santa Fe, but it was I think it went from refrigerator or freezer to freezer, a couple of Airbnbs, and then to the house. I think we've been pushing it around in the freezer, but we made that, and luckily we had gone to the store the night before, and we had bought a bunch of vegetables for a change. And so we threw together a salad, and we opened up a bottle of wine and had a lovely, lovely, lovely meal. And then we watched 1883, which was okay.
And it was particularly poignant because on Tuesday, our Shar-Pei Milo, who's been with us 14 and a half years, and we've been together almost 20 now. So much of our relationship, and a deep part of our relationship, we had to put him to sleep. He just had so many things going on that I don't know the last time he had a good day, and we miss him so much, and he's still so much a part of our lives and our thoughts. So this week, being a holiday week, has been particularly poignant and beautiful in celebrating him, celebrating us, and about hope and loss both.
Yeah, and also really being able, maybe for the first time, to just give all of our love and attention now to the puppies.
Yeah.
To our two puppies, but we never thought Milo would make it to Santa Fe. We never thought he'd last this long. There were so many times we thought we'd lose him, which brings us to the subject of today's talk. And that is how having a partner, how having a wife has really made this year and the last 20 years of your life special. And I know that you had two marriages that didn't work out prior to ours. And I remember when I first brought up the idea of marriage and you thought you weren't going to get remarried again.
Right. Coming from a second marriage, which was a difficult and very brief marriage, I thought, I've done it, and that we could have a great relationship that would be the same as being married, but without, the certificate.
Yeah.
And the more we got to know each other, the more I fell in love with you and we fell in love with each other, the less it seemed appropriate to call you my significant other or my partner
or your girlfriend
or my girlfriend, and I'm so proud to call you my wife. I mean, that means a lot to me. Every time I say it, all these years, I'm very proud to call you my wife.
Well, and I think also that it felt almost, so many people don't want to get remarried after failed marriages, or they feel that they don't need to if they're not going to have children and all. But for me, it really did feel like, and I also was married and divorced, kind of more than once, hypothetically, not to go into that, but I had been married and divorced, and it felt almost to me like the one time that we should get married, the one right person, we turn around and we think, oh, why bother, right? Why bother? And for me, and I think for us, it's been so rewarding because we did do it right. I couldn't imagine two people getting it more right than us.
Well, it's seamless, where my life ends and yours begins. There's no demarcation. Our funds are completely together. Our plans are shared. Our dreams and hopes are shared. Everything is blended and it's synergistic. It's more than 1 + 1.
Yeah.
It's many, many, many times that.
Oh, thanks, babe. Yeah. It's just, we both did so much work individually between our marriages and before we met. In the 8 years between my two marriages, and I know for almost as much time for you, were really working deeply on yourself and all. But we're coming up on New Year's, and I think so many people, a comment that I constantly hear from women, which I just think is such a cop-out. It is a truism, but it's such a cop-out. I often hear when I'm doing, when I do breakthrough calls, for my 12-week coaching program, I speak to women on the phone, and we will talk for about an hour and a half about how I can help them transform their love lives. And often they will sign up to do a 12-week emotionally naked dating coaching program with me that's life-changing. This is the work I do. And when I speak to these women, many of them will say, well, I'd rather, not be in a relationship than be in a bad relationship. Well, those aren't the only, that's not the only option. There's also being in a great relationship and learning how to do this right. I am highly introverted, highly, highly, highly introverted. Many people might not know that about me. It may not seem on the surface, if you were to meet me, how introverted I am. If I knew that we were going to live forever, I wouldn't need friends. I would need you and me and an eternity. But I make friends and I have friendships. I know it's important and it stretches me, but I could be with you all the time.
Right.
And it was one of the main reasons I worked so hard to find a partner, was so that I wouldn't sink into my introversion and wind up alone in my life. But many, many, many women think that men don't crave a partner.
Oh.
And that they just want sex, they won't commit, they're emotionally unavailable. And I thought, honey, it would be beautiful to look at what could have been one of the most difficult years of your life and reflect on how having a wife who adores you, a true partner, somebody who is there with open arms, with an open heart, who's just wanting to do everything in the world to make your life bigger and brighter and easier. Let's go back over. Let's start with January 1st of this year. What happened?
Well, we found our home the day before Thanksgiving, the prior year, last year, and made an offer on Thanksgiving. And it was meant for us because the property, which is extraordinary, we're surrounded by 27 acres of trees. We have a running stream. It's like a compound. We've got our house, and then a few yards away, our offices, and above our guest house, and the 2-car garage we've turned into a gym. And we moved in February 1st. And with no real hesitation. I was born in Los Angeles, and we spent 17 and a half years building our house to exactly how we wanted it in Los Angeles. And we spent 2.5 years just building a Moroccan garden and spending more money than I'd be comfortable even admitting to myself. And, so during the elections, we thought, let's get out of the city for a couple months. And we never looked back. Los Angeles just became more distant in the rearview mirror. And we just said, well, let's just move here. And what normally would have been a huge decision of agonizing and pacing and sleepless nights was just this easy decision because we had the two of us and we both made it happen.
Well, and you would have never broken away from your almost 40-year practice.
In a week, it'll be 40 years.
Yeah. So you were in Los Angeles 38 years as a body worker. And you could have, if there were 48 hours in a day, you could have filled them with patients. And you made a decision to just leave that practice.
Yeah, a very secure practice. For years, my outgoing message was, I'm not taking new clients. I'm happy to refer. But starting a practice in Los Angeles was easy in the way that I was born in Los Angeles. I knew a lot of people. And so it paved the way. I had the wind at my back. Landing here in Santa Fe, I really didn't know anyone, hardly a soul, if anyone at all.
Yeah, we met. Tonya was the one. We had one friend, really.
Right.
Here.
Right, and we met her here. We didn't know her ahead of time.
Yeah, I had met her once at Laura's. Yeah.
So it was a leap of faith, but I knew that because I was in a partnership, that I had the security blanket. I hadn't been able to be in my practice since the famous date, March 15th, 2020, where everything stopped. And I didn't start again until after, I think it was 2 weeks after my last vaccination, where I felt it was safe for me to be with clients and clients to be with me. But during that time, I had that security net because you were able to not only pick up the slack and cover both of us, but your practice soared. I mean, just really soared,
Yeah.
which we didn't know how it would be during a pandemic.
Nope.
And,
We didn't.
And it just, you know, I won't mention numbers, but it was just like phenomenal.
Yeah. And it was also amazing because everything was already automated and online.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's almost as if somebody had, was pushing me in toward the future.
Yeah.
And my whole program was already an online course. So when the pandemic hit, I didn't have to change anything.
Yeah. So we moved in here February 1st.
But what happened January 1st, honey?
January 1st.
You were diagnosed with COVID.
Oh, that's right. Right.
How quickly we forget.
We were exposed Christmas night by Lisa's brother, who is a bit of a hypochondriac and had the flu earlier in the year and was convinced it was COVID. It wasn't. And so he had that evening, he wasn't feeling well. And we were sitting next to him and we both came down with COVID.
But you tested positive first.
Yeah.
We both went and did a rapid test.
And we were in an Airbnb. We weren't really at our own home yet, either in Los Angeles or here. And if it weren't for you taking care of me for those 10 days, I couldn't imagine just being by myself and being in bed and fending for myself and keeping track of the vitamins and supplements and making sure I was okay.
Well, Antonia went and got us a whole bag full of stuff.
Yeah.
Came over with a bag of disinfectants and vitamins and everything we needed. I mean, that was extraordinary.
Yeah. But it was you that really took care of me.
Well, and we were almost certain you were going to wind up in the hospital or dead.
In the ICU.
Yeah, because of your age and the fact that you have 3 autoimmune diseases. Your hematologist had told us that you couldn't get COVID. He thought you were not going to live through it.
Right. I called him on his cell on New Year's Day, and he thought that the next call would be from a doctor in the ICU.
Yeah.
So, but we got through it. And fortunately, you didn't have it in a significant way. You lost, you felt like a minor cold, but you lost your sense of taste, which wasn't a bad thing because you hate cilantro. And in New Mexico, everything has cilantro is in everything. And
green chili.
And green chili. So it wasn't entirely a bad thing.
No, there was a little bit, but I also lost my taste for arugula, which was not a good thing. Yeah. So we made it through that. And, I think what could have been a pretty frightening experience, I know you have a Zen way of looking at everything, but what could have been a very, very scary experience, I think, was made better for the fact that we were there together and we went through it together. And we quarantined. I didn't stay with you. I slept in the other bedroom. And I think that also may have helped my case stay milder by not having too much exposure to you. And then, you called Juan and our handyman in Los Angeles.
Had all the furniture packed into pods and shipped to us in pods. And then we put the house up for sale and it was an easy sale. We never set foot in Los Angeles.
We never went back.
Yeah. And so the same real estate agent who we became friends with almost 18 years ago, or now it's more than 18 years ago, who sold us the house, represented us in selling the house. So she did a great job. And a happy couple, and she was pregnant, not 8 months pregnant when she moved in.
Mhm.
And then we moved in here, and we could feel the amount of love that was put into this place.
Mhm.
Uh, even the kitchen table. They moved from Austin, Texas, and the wife is an artist, and she just created this whole story on the kitchen table, this wooden
Mhm.
table of their trip to
Yeah, she
Austin, and
painted the whole. She painted like a map.
yeah, from Austin to Santa Fe, and
Uh-huh.
she was said, that we will find peace here, and remember this place, meaning their place in Austin. And my sense is we'll always have that table, just like in Lisa's office here. If we open the door, there's a strange room because he used to hunt birds. So it was a gun room, and there's this huge safe door, this big turn handle, but and we put these antique doors just to cover it. But as we open the safe door, there's this beautiful, beautiful poem that he wrote for his 3 hunting dogs that he had over the years. And so there's a lot of love in this house.
And I can't wait to sand down that table and repaint it or restain it. I am like ready, this close to getting the sandpaper. Yeah. So would you have done any of this without me, babe?
No, I would have, if I already had the house in Los Angeles, I would have just stayed there, stayed in my practice, and probably, would grow old there. And, but having a partner, there's a safety net to make a change for change's sake. We didn't need to make a change at all. We were happy in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are down in Los Angeles, but there are so many things about Los Angeles we love.
Mm-hmm. I think we'd be happy anywhere together.
Yeah, we'd be happy anywhere.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah. So both being in a partnership and coinciding with the pandemic that kind of freed me to move, or at least gave me the space to move. And we never looked back. We never regretted it. We never said, gosh, are we doing the right thing? It was just like moving forward together in a new adventure. And after 20 years to have a brand new adventure, and we may have others, as significant. And,
yeah, we never anticipated this. Like we thought we were going to grow old in LA.
Yeah.
We really did.
And we may even move from here, even though we're very happy here. And we've been in construction from day one, from February 1st. And we'll probably be, be a full year of construction, at least one crew, sometimes 3 or 4 crews a day for this past year. And we know that we could move again if we wanted to. Yeah. That there's a freedom. Being in a partnership isn't an anchor. It's a freedom.
Right. And something else I think that I've really added, I know you would agree, I've added to your life, and having a partner has added to your life. You love what you do. You're one of the most brilliant people, healers, physical therapists, body workers, in the world renowned. But one thing that I know has been a wonderful gift, and not something that you would have ever anticipated, was that when you couldn't work, you started working with me.
Right.
And you would come on our Q&A calls at first, and you felt very awkward.
Very awkward.
Right? But what's happened?
Well, it's something that I've come to love as well. And when I entered, it felt like I was entering conversations that were already in progress. And, I didn't know people. I didn't know, how I fit in. And then it just felt comfortable. And just being the voice of a guy, and I think kind of a sane, steady voice that can give advice. And in some ways, no matter what the age of your clients, because you've got clients in their, early 20s to into the 80s, that I may be everyone's father.
Or grandfather.
Right. I have a tendency to say, well, on the date he did this and this and this. And my tendency is to say, get rid of him. And yours is to say, well, give him the benefit of the doubt. Get rid of him. Dump that. Move. I'm very protective.
Oh, well, and it's good. It's lovely. I think for our clients to see our relationship, to really see the two of us together, to see how we often disagree on things, and there's never a fight. There's never like one of us is making the other wrong, and sometimes, I'll disagree with you, and then you'll kind of go, oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah. When people hear the term disagreement, people usually think of dissonance or there's some friction. And when we disagree, it's just like adding more thoughts and information into the pot.
Yeah.
And so, it really, I like it. And it's neither one of us take it personally.
No.
Because we have respect for each other.
Yeah. And it's just, it's something I think people don't often see, a couple who can have a difference of opinion and just let both truths, coexist simultaneously and not have to be right or wrong. It's like, this is where Benjamin is at. This is where I'm at. And then, you find what works for you as a client. But many, many clients, in fact, a very dear client of ours just had a severe stroke, and I called her in the hospital and we talked, and she said, Lisa, if I were going to say of everything, and she said, I love your course. I loved everything about it. And what I loved the most of all was just your interaction with Benjamin, seeing the two of you together, and to see that kind of modeling with a couple. So that was really great. And also getting Benjamin's opinions, right? And then something else that we did was we started this podcast.
Right. Completely out of my wheelhouse. You call yourself an introvert, and I would put myself a couple notches below that. I'm very comfortable in my practice, which is kind of quiet and meditative, and with my clients, and I never thought of myself as someone who is going to share his life on camera. And in fact, I thought I would be the last person on the planet
to do that.
Yeah. But it allows me time with you, and I really enjoy this time where we just speak with each other.
Yeah. And also even just preparing these talks. The time that we get to spend, you and me, just preparing and talking about what we're going to talk about. That's really lovely. Yeah. I mean, for us, it's never about, oh, we have to go do this thing, or let's go here, or let's, take this vacation or do that thing. But it's just, how do we spend quality time together, whether it's on a Q&A call or it's doing these podcasts. We'd rather, I think, almost be doing something meaningful together with our time than just, and spending time together at dinner or going out. But it's all wonderful, all of it. Something that has become a tradition for you and me are my birthdays.
Right. When we got married, I promised you I promised you two things, that you would always have good birthdays, and that anytime you wanted to go to Sunday brunch,
Uh-huh.
we would do that.
Because those were two sore spots for
Yeah.
me. I didn't have nice birthdays growing up, and
When you were walking the dogs,
yeah.
your dog, and you'd pass restaurants where couples were enjoying a Sunday brunch, and you didn't have a partner to do that. That it was an emptiness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And for years, you would say, would you like to go to Sunday brunch?
Yeah.
Years and years and years. But this year, I had a really special birthday.
Number 60.
And you wanted to make it special for me, even though it was the pandemic and traveling was challenging and all. You really, really wanted to make it a special year. And so what happened?
Well, we started in making plans for Sri Lanka and
Morocco.
then, first Morocco and northern Spain, northeastern Spain. And then we realized that Morocco in the desert, where we wanted to be, to have a desert adventure, was going to be way too hot at the end of August. So,
but then we went to Spain and Portugal. We thought we'd do that.
That was near the end of the planning.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. Then we went to Sri Lanka because we're just looking for places that were different.
Interesting.
Yeah. And one of the purpose of travel is to come back different.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Sri Lanka, they had a chemical or an oil spill.
They had a chemical, like a ship just broke and spilled chemical on the beaches. And so then we thought of Bali, and then we started reading about Bali and people's comments, and they said the Bali that is now is not the Bali that was 20 years ago, and that it's so crowded that we said no, that's not for us. Then we looked for the Caribbean, and some of the nice hotels were closed when we wanted to go because of hurricane season. Monsoon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, hurricane.
And then we chose Spain and Portugal.
You planned the whole trip.
Everything, Michelin, like every night a Michelin restaurant, and some for lunch. And we realized it was just going to be too much travel.
And too many people.
Yeah.
Like together. Yeah. And then Colorado. Then we thought we'd go local.
To the Broadmoor where The Shining was filmed.
Yeah. And then they have 2 camps, and you started to realize that there were going to be a lot of kids. And,
they only had like one space available.
And communal dining.
with a lot of families and kids and eating at the same table.
And we paid for it all. I mean, we put the money down, we paid for it, we reserved it. I mean, you planned.
Yeah.
And dismantled 2 entire trips.
Yeah.
And then
I said, look, where would you like to go? Just anywhere in the world.
Pick a place.
Anywhere. And I think just free thinking, you said Sicily.
Mm-hmm.
So we stayed in 2 magnificent places in Sicily. One was a former palace, and a huge palace, so big that half of it was a museum that was just a restored part of the palace. The other half, which was equally as large, the hotel was called the 7 Rooms because they only had 7 rooms. I think they may have added another room or 2, after that. But the rooms were huge, and we were just treated so well. We rented a car and drove around and the different small towns. Then we drove up north to Taormina, stayed at a grand hotel.
Yeah, at the Belmont.
Yeah. It
was gorgeous.
And it couldn't have been better. We couldn't have hoped for better weather, better people, better travel, better food.
And you even got us first class tickets round trip on our frequent flyer miles, even though it was very last minute.
Right. That was a miracle. That was a miracle.
A miracle.
But what was interesting was that it was a wonderful trip. We couldn't have wished for a better trip. And we were happy to be home. And just because we travel really to be with each other. And here in Santa Fe, where we have a lot of peace. I mean, it's other than the birds singing and hearing the stream, and a little bit of wind in the trees, it's quiet. And there's a sense of safety and seclusion.
Yeah.
And we were happy to be home. And we really don't have plans for another trip.
No.
It may happen, but we're so happy here. And it's just, again, travel is just an excuse to be together.
Right.
And even these podcasts are, and planning for them and the things that we do together here, we may as well be on vacation.
Yeah. And honey, having a partner and being able to uproot your whole practice of 38 years and completely reinvent yourself. What was that like for you to have me here? I just couldn't even imagine you doing this on your own and coming here and recreating yourself.
Oh, if it were just me starting from zero and not knowing anyone as we did, I would be sweating it because, I would be covetous of every appointment made and disheartened if someone didn't come back or canceled an appointment. It would have been, there would be panic. But there was a sense of ease because it allowed me to make contacts, which I made some wonderful contacts and getting some great referrals from wonderful, wonderful, generous people. But it allowed me to do that without just staying up at night worrying. And so, I slept well.
Well, and I also, you undersell yourself. You're so humble and you really downplay your skill and all. And so I was kind of, as you said, your wing woman.
Yeah, right.
We would go to an event or whatever, and I was able to sing your praises. So someone might say, well, what do you do? And you would give this very low key kind of abstract description of your work. And I would say, he really is so humble. He's really downplaying that he's the best, of the best, that he is the best in the world at what he does. And so it didn't take very long. You're at a point now, 7 months, I think, since you've been back working.
Yeah.
Just about 7 months. And pretty soon you're going to be having to turn people away.
Very soon.
Very soon. Yeah. Because, I think you could have gone, built it bigger, but because of working with me, because of our work, and you writing the online dating profiles and all,
right.
Which you don't want to give that up.
I don't.
God knows nobody writes an online dating profile like you do. But just the work that we're doing together, you can only handle about 25 clients a week. And so that's that, right? And you're almost at capacity, which is really extraordinary. And there was just a quick little tipping point, where it felt a little like, oof, and then it's almost like from one day to the next, it became, wow, I'm getting 2-3 calls a day.
Yeah, I've been very fortunate.
Well, you also paid your dues and put in your time, and people know when they meet you that you're extraordinary, that they can tell immediately. They really can. I think that's something else that I do for you, that we do for each other. But in those moments of despair, where I know you had a few unfortunate experiences, just nothing to do with you, but just, different things that happened. But I was there to remind you of who you are.
Yeah. Yeah. And we do that not only in the rough times, but in the good times also. And so having someone remind being able to remind each other of our worth, our value,
Mhm.
who we are and what we do in the world. I wouldn't have that just by myself.
Right.
I'd have some of it occasionally, but to have that bubble
Mhm.
of love and respect and reflection, it means the world.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a moment when I don't feel those things for you. Yeah, and it's so lovely to know that we're always there, that if something wonderful happens or something difficult or challenging happens, that we keep reminding each other of who we are and what we're capable of. It makes it all so much easier. Um, you mentioned the loss of Milo.
Yeah, and I could not imagine going through that alone.
Yeah.
I always called him my mini me.
Yeah, this is
because
our Sharpei
yeah,
of 14 and a half years, who we put to sleep on Tuesday.
yeah. And so not only was he with us all these years, but he mirrored me. I mean, we were like two souls, like one soul in two bodies.
We have the same face.
Right, same body.
Same build,
Right.
stocky, strong, wrinkly.
And kind of independent in our own ways, and
Characters.
Yeah, yeah. And so I'd walk into a room, and he'd just kind of march in and jump on the chair behind me, and if I went into another room, he would follow me and jump on that chair. And if I'd be eating, particularly salmon, and I usually would eat standing at the counter, just I wouldn't spend too much time eating. And he would be right next to me. His paws would be on the counter, and he would be looking straight ahead and occasionally just tap me for some salmon. The cutest thing.
Oh.
The cutest thing. And
the Spiros, how playful he was.
That's an electric ball that we can
remote control
by our iPhone,
that he chased all over.
Zoom around and spin and all that. And he loved that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you both have or had autoimmune diseases.
Yeah.
You both suffered from autoimmune diseases, and it was almost like you'd get sick and Milo would get sick, and it was almost coincided.
Yeah.
That's how linked you were. But something that would have never happened, you would have never had a Sharpei.
That's right.
Right? I brought that into your life.
That's right. And now this is our third. And our fourth Bernese Mountain Dog together.
Yeah, our fourth Berner and our third Sharpei. But you would have never experienced your mini me.
Right. Right. I never would have. And I think, well, that is the beauty of a relationship, and our relationship, that it has expanded me so much. I think with age, it becomes like a sauce that gets reduced when we're by ourselves, that nothing is really there that wasn't there before. It just gets more accentuated. But being in a relationship, it is expansive. So things that I never would have, I wouldn't be living in Santa Fe. I wouldn't have had a Sharpei. I wouldn't have, so many things that it's just expanded my life. And I think people are afraid that marriage is going to narrow their lives. And it hasn't been the case in any respect.
Not at all. I mean, I think most people can't imagine that you and I have not had an argument in 19 years together.
Yeah.
19 years. Over.
Yeah.
Over. Never had a single argument about anything.
I've been grumpy some days, but it passes. And because you don't take it personally, it just passes.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be, I'm not feeling well. I've got things on my mind, people. And what in other relationships would have been like cutting a diamond, hitting it with a small crack, and the crack would keep expanding, getting bigger over 3 days. It just wasn't that at all. Hasn't been. So, it gives me the freedom of not having to walk on eggshells, that I could be grumpy and it's not often, but that I don't have to worry about, oh no, now we're going to have silence for the next 3 days or something. It's never been that way.
No, I don't want to ever, I don't ever want to be mad at you. I love you. I love you. I want to have fun. I want this to be safe and loving. And it's just, and I think that when we really understand what love truly is, what love really is, it's selfless. It's selfless.
It's what we call being a guardian of each other's souls.
Yeah. And knowing that I'm going to be moody sometimes, and I want you to make space for me to be moody or have a bad day or come to you with a challenge. And I want you to feel free to do that with me and never have to think that I'm going to judge you or tell you what to do or even try to fix it for you, but just give you the space to come to me and talk about things. But putting Milo down was, one of the hardest things I think we've ever done together. Even more painful than losing parents. And this little dog, we just, we loved him so much. And he was with us for so long. I mean, it's as much as we love the puppies and we'll grow to love them more and more, the loss of an old friend, 14 and a half years is irreplaceable. Irreplaceable. And I remember, just a few days ago, you were talking about Jonah, and how...
This is my second Bernese Mountain Dog.
But when you brought him back from the breeder and he had parvo, and you said there was no one there, you never felt so alone. You had this little puppy and you thought he was going to die. And
I remember leaving him at the vet, and it was a rainy evening and my windows of the car were closed, and I just sat and I cried so much that the windows were steamed on the inside.
Oh, honey.
Oh. But if I had someone special, I would have gone home and have been held, and it would have been a very different experience.
And we, I remember the day after we put Milo down, you said, how could something, so awful be so beautiful? How could such an awful day have been, at the same time, such a beautiful day? We went out to dinner. We didn't eat our food, but we had a couple of cocktails each. We just sat together and we had each other. I couldn't have even imagined, what it would have been like if we hadn't had each other. Well, I think it's been a remarkable year. We've made new friendships. We have wonderful neighbors who I don't think we ever would have had a chance to know if we hadn't been a couple. We went to the Bosque del Apache last weekend. And, I don't know that there could be any safari in Africa that could have been more magical than going to see these beautiful cranes. We went and stayed at a Best Western.
Got up before dawn. And got there to watch the sunset and the cranes sunrise, excuse me. Watch the cranes fly in, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, maybe thousands.
Squawking.
And the sound of the wings and landing on this ice-covered lake. And then taking off, and extraordinary.
And then driving around the 12-mile property.
With ice crystals on the, just glistening on the plants.
Like glitter. The plants looked like they were glittering from the ice crystals. And all of those things are things
I wouldn't have done by myself.
No, never.
Nor would you have.
Nor would I.
Yeah.
I barely go on a hike. I don't know the last time. I haven't even bought hiking boots, so I have an excuse. Oh, honey. Well, it's been a lovely year. It's been a lovely year, and it's wonderful to know I could have added so much to you and your life. And just one last question from a man's perspective, having a wife, can you speak about that? Like what that brings to a year in the life of a man?
Well, having a wife and having a good relationship, which means having done our work before we met and making the choice in being married that we want the best for each other, that I always know that whatever happens, you would want the best for me. And it's never second guessing. So it's made me more of who I am or who I could be, even beyond my own expectations. So I couldn't imagine my life, what it would be now without you and without marriage.
Yeah. And how it's a choice, especially at this age.
Yeah.
We can retreat into our safety and our solitude, or we can continue to grow and expand ourselves, for a lifetime.
Yeah.
And I think that's the gift of having a wonderful, loving, supportive partner. Thank you, baby.
Thanks, sweetie.
Love you. I love you so much.
I love you, sweetie.
Yeah, it's been a wonderful, magical year. Yeah. I wouldn't have traded it for anything.
A magical year in the midst of a storm.
In the midst of a storm.
Yeah.
We survived COVID. We bought a new house. We built my business together. We
recreated my business.
We recreated your business.
We survived my cooking.
We love your cooking. We had a whole flurry of curries because I love curry. But and we said goodbye to Milo.
Yeah.
To a dear, dear friend.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, thank you. Thank you all for joining us. And thank you for giving us an opportunity to just reflect on this, what could have been a really tragic year, but a year that was made more beautiful for the fact that we have each other. Please, if you enjoyed this, tell your friends. Partnership is the most beautiful part of life, and we can buy into the belief that relationships are a struggle and a sacrifice and all, or we can really look at the examples of beautiful relationships and we can learn from those people because they're out there. They are out there. There are couples like Benjamin and me. In fact, many of those couples are former clients who have met the guardians of their souls by doing my 12-week or our 12-week emotionally naked dating coaching program. So if you really want to find true love, a guardian of your soul for the rest of your life, so that you can keep expanding each other, growing in love, in partnership, please go to lisashield.com. Watch my free 45-minute presentation. Many people, many women have said that it was the best one they've ever seen, and that most people just use these presentations as a sales pitch, but that they actually learn. They take notes from my presentation. And when I speak to them on a breakthrough call, they will actually pull out their whole notes and show them to me. So please, please go watch my presentation. And also, if you would like to, please go like my YouTube channel. That would be wonderful. And also subscribe to this podcast. So this is called Getting Inside the Right Male Mind. But if you want to find and subscribe to my podcast, just go to Dating Without Drama. And I do 2 episodes a week. So please look for that and subscribe and rate and review it. That really helps us. Tell your friends about this. And if you have any suggestions for topics you would like for me to cover, either on Lunch with Lisa or on this podcast, Getting Inside the Right Male Mind with my husband, Benjamin, please send your suggestions to dwdpod@gmail.com. All right.
And DWD stands for
Dating Without Drama. All right, everybody. Thank you, thank you,
Sure.
thank you for tuning in. And we send you our love. And please come back and see us next week. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day and a very happy, happy New Year to everybody.
Yes.
All right.
Happy New Year.
Bye-bye. Take care, everybody. We'll see you next time.